Oh, it's time for episode number 2 of the report card here on the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League Facebook Live page. We are outside the Rinks here in downtown Anaheim. Welcome, everybody, to our second edition of the report card. I'm Erik Pessolano. You know Chuck Lejsek. You know the coach, Mike Perkins. We're here with our second recap show of the year, guys. We had a pretty fun week last week, Chuck. We were very Division III heavy, but we got to see a good game. A couple of games that got a little bit out of hand, but it was a good week last week.
At least they saved the best for last. Last week, it started off with, it was Bishop Amat completely destroying PYU SLG, which was minus a couple strong players, one who we will be talking to later. Then after that, we had Lozelle. I want to say it was like an 8-1, 9-1 game where they defeated Mater Dei. But the best of the three was the game between Villa Park and Corona Norco. Jared Corday scores four goals. His fourth comes in overtime, ends up being the winner, and Villa Park walks away with the victory.
Yeah, it was a real great week last week here at the rink. Coach, we welcome you back. You were on vacation last week, or maybe not totally about vacation, but at least you were away from us.
Hockey vacation. Yep, got a chance to get into Minnesota with my 18U team, where we had a good time. We played at the Schwann Super Rink in Blaine, Minnesota. It's a facility that has 8 sheets of ice in it, and something that most of our kids had never seen before. So very exciting to get back, which is home for me, and to see some friends and play some hockey.
Well, good. I don't know if we're part of those friends, because I know how
you guys are part of those friends.
Oh, it's good to know that. Good to have you back, too, by the way.
Thank you.
Good to be back. Going to have a nice day of broadcast later on, also on bdehockey.com. You can join us later on for our triple header of action. But today, as you know how we do things here on the report card, we're going to feature a Division I team. Every time we do the show, we do it just about once a month, so we'll let you know when the next one coming up is. This week, it's the Edison Chargers, who are in Division I. They were in Division III last year. We want to welcome in our guests here today, of course, head coach David Walker, and then Sephten Clevenger over there on the far right of your screen. James McGuire sitting to Chuck's left as well. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Coach, we'll go ahead and start with you. Now, you guys last year coming off a championship in varsity Division III. What was that like for your team going through winning a title last year?
I think it was an opportunity for the kids to really see what it takes to get to that level, and I think it put a little at it, kick in their pants to maybe get a little bit more and kind of push themselves and test them a little bit more this following year, which was a big reason why we made the jump from Division III to Division I.
Now, Coach, and then I'm going to ask the players as well. You guys make the jump from D3 to D1. You guys are the only D1 public school, which I personally love. I came from a public school myself, so I have a little affinity for you guys. Do you guys play with that chip on your shoulder, knowing that you guys are the only public school in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's that the players know it's a public versus private. I don't think as a coaching staff we don't really harp on that going into game planning. For us it's we understand that the teams that we're playing are a notch above. And we have to be that much better to compete. We know going in that it was going to be a little more difficult than what we faced last year because of the strength of the teams. But we felt that regardless whether we were public or private, that we had enough skill and drive on this team that we could give ourselves an opportunity to shock a few teams and keep games close, and we've got enough firepower and enough game breakers that as long as we keep those games close, I like our chances. Is it great to be the only public school in it? Yeah, it's great. But at the end of the day, it's more about how we can perform, not just being in here as a public school.
Oh, and speaking of performing on the ice, I'll yield to Sephten and James here, whichever one of you wants to take it. What's it like going from D3 to D1? What's the competition level like up there? How much have you guys had to step up your game to be competitive this season?
Going from D3 to D1 was a huge jump, but I think I speak for everyone on the team, and we all love it. And as long as we keep trying as hard as we can, I think we can keep up with them.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Going from D3 to D1 this year is a complete change. The amount of competition we face, it's great. But the whole team wanted to do that this year, and so we're going to do whatever it takes to do the best we can.
You guys lost 61% of your offense from last season. I looked it up. I did the math. It took me a while.
Yeah.
What do you guys need to do to replace that this season to be successful up in a higher division?
Well, for this season, it's all about the teamwork. Last year, we had guys like Trevor Arsenault and Jake Ely. Those two guys could very much make plays by themselves. So I feel like this year, with the talent we have, it's about working with each other and just outworking the other team.
Coach, talk a little bit about your approach on the ice. When I watch you guys, you're a hard-working team. You guys get in on the forecheck. You guys compete in the D zone. Very fun from my perspective and from my standpoint. It's fun to watch you guys compete and play hard. So just talk a little bit about your approach and how you coach your team on a day-to-day basis, and then once you get into a game.
The big thing that we talk about, before we go to the games and before the puck drops is the one word is just compete. Throwing all the X and O's out of it, look at it from a one aspect point of view, and that's just compete. When we compete, the skill stuff will take care of itself, and the plays will take care of itself. But as long as we're competing, we have enough talent on the team that we can compete, that we can skate with, any of the teams. It's when we don't compete, that's when we get into
certainly it's evident from our perspective as well. When we watch you guys, like I had mentioned, you can clearly see it. The guys are after it. Anytime the puck is loose, anytime the other team has the puck, you guys are all over it, getting after it, and very fun for us to watch. Maybe the players can talk about from their perspective. I know it from our perspective as coaches. Sometimes we see it one way, but from a player standpoint, what are you guys thinking about James and Sephten from a player standpoint when you guys play? When you guys get in on a forecheck and then obviously in the defensive zone? I think that's just two areas where I really recognize and notice you guys when you guys compete and play hard.
Well, coach has always told us first to the puck no matter what. That's our strong suit, is just charge it, create as much chaos and try to just get it out.
Yeah, it's every time in practice, I feel like every drill is either offensive or defensive zone, so I guess it makes sense. That's where you evaluate our best areas of the game. But yeah, it's always the first on puck. Make sure you hit the first forward in, always creating the hit, trying to make loose pucks. And then defensive zone is just doing your best, making sure you're in position, playing your role.
In Coach's defense, he's actually picked you guys. He's your dark horse. They were your dark horse at the beginning of the season.
These guys are my dark horse. I most certainly I enjoy watching you guys play, and I'm going to be very excited to see how you guys do here this afternoon.
Let me a question for you guys really quickly too. Has the speed just been jumping up from the D3 to D1? Have you guys had to adjust to the speed? Is it what you expected, or is it? Do you guys have to bring in more, or what?
As the speed difference between D3 and D1 is, it's very, very apparent. There's a lot of good guys in D1. Guys on SM, Jay Sarah, we're about to play. They have some really good players on their team. D3, it was a pretty average season last year, but then there's definitely some increased competition. There is definitely a learning curve for this league.
Sephten, let me ask you what your typical daily schedule is from a practice school standpoint, and then practice, and then how that all fits together as a team. And are you guys spending a lot of time together? Are you guys getting to the rink early and spending time and getting your stretch in and stuff? Are you guys stopping to get something to eat before practice and those kind of things? I think the fans would really like to know about your daily routine when it comes to school and practice.
That's actually a really good question, because we all hang out at school. We all go to lunch together. We used to play hockey after school across the street at a rec center, but we all, we talk about the games most of the time. We talk about how we can do things better sometimes. Going to practice, we have dry land before. Most of the team shows up to that. We can all, get together, stretch, work out a little bit, and then go to practice and just focus on what's really, up for that week.
And James, I want to ask you, what's it like on campus as far as support from the school. We know that, here in Southern California, for the most part, football is going to get all the notoriety. But now that you guys up in Division I, what's it been like on campus since the hockey team has started, since you guys have been around? Now you guys are seniors.
It's definitely, the experience has changed as far as my time in high school from my freshman year. I remember when things would go on the announcements and there'd be kids in my class like, we even have an ice hockey team. And then now it's to the point where we're on the announcements if we have a big game pretty much every week. And although the sport's not CIF yet, so we don't, for example, like our lower classmen still have to take PE, but that's pretty much specifically for our school. But the support overall is definitely improved since we've been moving up through the divisions, and with the championship last year, we've definitely made our presence known for our school.
So you guys, so far this year, off to a 1-3 start, moving up into the new division, got that one win. What do you guys like the most about your team? What do you think that you do well, and what are some things that you think the team can improve on? And I'll open that up to either three of you. Who wants to take that one?
I think the things that we need to improve on, I definitely is we've been a little bit snake bitten offensively. And I think a lot of that has to do, we go back to the speed of the game. It's not necessarily that everyone's skating faster, it's the puck's moving faster. So we have to kind of, we're slowly catching up to it. It's taken maybe longer than what we wanted to, but we're getting opportunities. We're just not capitalizing right now. And you look at any of the games that we had, especially, you look at our first game, we were outplayed by Santa Margarita, but we had some chances that we could have, and that game could have went the other way real quick. But without us capitalizing those chances, you leave a team that good like Santa Margarita around, eventually things are going to come back to get you. So in terms of that, it's being more, I guess, I don't want to say more clutch, but just, bearing down more on our offensive chances. Like to limit some of our penalties, good penalties, bad penalties. I think we've got too much on the bad side in terms of bad timing, penalties in the offensive zone that we don't really need. But other than that, it's it's to compete. It's just continuing getting these kids to compete at a high level every shift, limiting the shifts that we take off. And I think if we do that, we're always going to give ourselves a chance every game. And we knew as a team, as a coaching staff, that going into this year that it's not going to be a case of trying to blow teams out. We know that wasn't going to happen. We understand that we're going to have to play extremely well against all the teams. We're going to have to get good goaltending. We're going to have to capitalize on our chances, and we're going to have to work for some bounces. And that's, to me, as a coach, that's great. It's teaching the kids how to play through adversity and play in tough games and play in close games, and I think there's a lot of benefit to teaching and learning in situations like that.
For those of you just joining us here on the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League Facebook page, sitting down here with the Edison Chargers, Coach David Walker, Sephten Clevenger, and James McGuire with us here out in front of the rinks at Anaheim Ice. You're watching the report card. Coach, I know you had one more thing you wanted to ask.
This is going great. I'm enjoying this. Coach, before the show here, you and I were standing here talking, and you mentioned the word process, and I think that's just a huge word from a coaching perspective. James and Sephten, can you guys talk a little bit about your process, from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and where you guys are looking to be, when we're talking January, February, and headed into March is when the things really get down to the nitty-gritty, and what are you guys doing right now to instill coach's process into what you guys are doing from a team perspective?
Well, I feel like the start of the season, obviously, we haven't played D1 since our freshman year, so I feel like the very start of the season, to start off that process, it's definitely getting adjusted to the speed of the game. We haven't seen teams like this in a while, so it's definitely getting adjusted to that, and throughout the season, it's steadily implementing our game plan, whatever we work on in practice, making sure we get that down in the game, because those specific things are what's going to give us the best chance. And so by the end of the time, hopefully we're in a good seed going to the playoffs, and we have a strong push for the states, regionals, whatever's next.
And just to bank off his, we haven't seen teams like this. We've never played teams like this, so we just got to, get our stuff back, get grit back, get, teamwork all in order, get everything we need to play teams like this. And, hopefully down the season we can learn from these, couple losses that we can learn to play better towards the end of the season.
We've seen some rivalries be built in this league over the last few years since it's expanded so much. You guys had a rival in Huntington Beach with that Surf City rivalry. It doesn't exist anymore because you moved up to Division One.
Yeah, they kind of took it.
At least not in the interim.
It's still there.
Who are you guys looking at? Who are you gunning for? Who do you think can become your rival here, moving up to Division One?
I only say this because they knocked me out, but I say Santa Margarita. They laid me out, so that's my vote.
It's strange how that name comes up so often when we talk about rivalries. Aiming for the top. I love it. So coming up in, oh goodness, what are we? We're getting ready to go in November. My goodness, we got another month. Headed out to Vegas for a showcase. How do you guys feel about that? Are you excited to get out there? A little bit anxious maybe to go out to Vegas? What are your thoughts on that showcase coming up?
Definitely excited. We haven't really traveled together before as a team, so the first time going to Vegas. Hopefully the whole experience goes well, and hopefully we can play some good hockey while we're there.
Should be a lot of fun. You can catch a lot of those games on bdehockey.com. We'll be out there. We get to watch you guys play out there.
Are you guys taking a bus out there? Or are you guys traveling? How are you guys doing that?
All independent travel.
Okay, all right.
Flying, driving, planes,
right,
trains, and automobiles.
I was going to wish you luck if you were doing it as a team.
Boat, hot air balloon, whatever gets us there.
Well, how are we going to get there?
You guys got anything more?
That's it.
No, this is great.
Yeah, no. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I know you got a game later on today. You got Jay Sarah, so another D1 league game coming up. You can catch that game on bdehockey.com. The three of us will be there to call the action. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks,
for
guys.
stopping by.
Really appreciate it.
So there you have it, the Edison Chargers right now. We're going to talk about Division One here as we go through the recap here in the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League, guys. I mean, the Chargers, we talked about it, 1-3 so far. They did get a win here in the first four, and I think getting any wins at the start of the season when you're in Division One is huge.
Big time, because you're jumping up from D3, as we mentioned before. They had the speed they're adjusting to and stuff like that. But grabbing a win early like this in that adjustment period, it's huge, and it has to do well for team morale. And I think that things are just going to get brighter and sunnier. And I'm jumping on Coach Perkins' back right here. I really like this team come towards the end of the season.
You can come over to my side, huh, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm coming over.
All right.
Seems like we have some
I go from dark to the light side. There you go.
persuasion going on out here early on a Saturday.
I think
Would
that
be a young
process that
Padawan.
we talked about, the team is going through their stages. They recognize it, and that's probably the best part for Edison right now at this stage, is that they recognize where they're at, they're building off of it, and they're growing off of it. And as long as they keep doing that, I'm gonna tell you right now, when it comes to February and March, they're gonna be a team to be contended with.
So let's talk about Division One. We'll start at the top. The Santa Margarita Eagles. They're undefeated. They're 5-0 since our last report card we did. They've gone 3-0. So they had wins over Orange Lutheran, Tahoe,
Well,
and
let's just face it, they're getting better. They were in Minnesota when we were there last week as well, and they were competing, and they played some very good hockey. So they are testing themselves and getting out into the big hockey world and testing the waters.
You know what? They're kind of like the SJB St. John Bosco Division II right now. They're just mowing through the competition. It's some of them. I mean, Orange Lutheran, the way they dismantled them, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, it wasn't even funny. I believe it was 8-1.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is just firing all cylinders right now. Coach Johnson, kudos to him for what he's doing with that program.
And, of course, when you play that well over the course of the month, you're going to probably get the Player of the Month. That's the way it's been done. Levi Solani is the Player of the Month in Division One. Unfortunately, he's out of town. Couldn't join us here today on the report card, but I'm sure we will see him soon. He had 4 goals and 6 assists over that first month that earned him September honors here to start off the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League season. We moved down the list. Orange Lutheran 3-1. They're in second place. They had a win since our last show. They won over Tahoe in a very competitive game that ended up going overtime.
That was fun. Yeah, Orange Lutheran. Actually, Furry did not get the game winner on that one.
No,
it was kind of shocking. Jacob Furry finally does not score a big goal for Olu right there. But you got to like the way that they played.
Actually, wait a minute. I thought he did.
Did he?
Yeah, he
he
did.
did.
He did get that one.
There it is. I forgot.
thinking, wait a minute.
He was standing right in front of the net.
Yeah,
He's
that's
standing
right.
in front of the net. He was parked. You could
you
have drove a semi in there.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Jay Sarah's 2-1. They're in third place right now in Division One. They got a win over the last month. They beat Damien since our last show. Mike, how about the Lions right now, hanging out right there in the middle of the pack?
Well, I mean, what can you say with Blake Reed, Jake Hager, Mikey Pellegrino, and their cast of young freshmen that are helping out the cause. Coach Noviello's got a bright future for the remainder of the season here ahead of him with a really good group, and we're going to see him here today. So we're going to see today's version.
Yep, we'll see them at noon today taking on Edison, as a matter of fact. We talked about them in 4th place right now. Down at the bottom of Division 1, Tahoe Hockey Academy, they are 0-4, or excuse me, rather 0-5. They lost a game last night up in San Jose. They played Bellarmine, yeah. So they got a point in the standings, but the Bells now jump over ahead of Tahoe because they got their first win last night, their first game of the season. So we haven't seen the Bells yet. They're going to make their way down to Anaheim, I believe, the first week of December, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that an overtime game?
Yeah,
yes.
it was
Okay.
overtime.
So we moved down to Division 2. It starts at the top. Chuck, you mentioned him a bit ago. St. John Bosco, 6-0 so far this season. 2 wins since our last show. They also had the Player of the Month in Sam Kapusta. He's also out of town in the club tournament,
exactly,
so he couldn't join us here today. But congratulations to him. 12 goals,
He's
7
on
assists
fire.
in 5 games
My
this
goodness,
season.
that's just—it's not even funny, honestly. I mean, that team scores at will. It's in the way they just destroy teams, and just gotta like the way that team's firing all cylinders right now.
Capistrano United comes in 2nd place. They're 4-1. They've got 11 points in the standings. The Coyotes have been impressive early on.
Well, I got to mention Coach John LeBay's team. He has Ben Snyder and Joey Holman and Zach Lane, and a few other players that obviously are big help to what he's got going on there. But he's got a nice group, and that will be a team to be reckoned with at the end of the year. I know Bosco's running away with it right now, but keep an eye on those Coyotes.
The next 5 teams in the standings, all from the San Diego area: Central Cathedral, La Jolla Country Day, Poway, Pacific Ridge, North County, all in a muddled middle there in Division 2, all battling for positioning here early on in the season.
And bragging rights.
Yeah,
In San
exactly.
Diego.
Yeah, exactly.
And bragging rights.
Well, I think it shows just the popularity and the strength of hockey where it comes down. You can have 5 schools from San Diego, and they're all ultra competitive. I mean, La Jolla Country Day, they bring the size, they bring the defense and the goaltending. I just like the way all these schools skate right now, and I think it just bodes well for the neighbors down south.
Just a note on that, the San Diego group, they have a in-season tournament or league or tournament, what they're putting on. It's called the Finest City Cup, where all those teams will be playing off for the San Diego Championship.
Oh, so there you
And
go.
the winner of that will represent in the Division II state championship.
Wow.
Wow, how about that? And then at the bottom of Division 2 right now, Las Vegas United, 0-6 so far on the season, but a lot of time for them to get themselves in the win column as the season progresses. All right, so that's Division 2. Now we move on to Division 3. We're not going to go straight into the team recap because, well, we have 3 players of the month. One was able to make it.
And you know where he's from? From Esperanza. You want to sing the Esperanza brightly shines the cardinal.
I don't know it.
Sad. I graduated almost 30 years ago. There we are, right there.
We welcome in Corey Mater, who is our Division 3 player.
How we doing, Cor?
Placentia
Doing
Yorba
pretty
Linda.
good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Look at him donning new colors this year, right? With
Yeah.
part of the newest team in the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League. 5 goals, 7 assists for you in the first 3 games that you played in. Your team went 2-1 over that span. What's it like now moving on and adjusting to pretty much for the most part an entire new team?
I like it. Kind of different feeling, representing different colors. New coaching's pretty nice. Players that I've played with, players that I haven't played with, helping out players who've never played before. So it's great just being there.
Now, I know you're in a combined, the PY, you're
Yeah.
basically consist of Esperanza,
Yorba
Linda, Eldorado have? And
yeah.
Valencia have anybody or not? No?
It's Brea as well.
Oh, Brea, wow. They put Brea in there too, okay.
Yeah.
How are you received at school? Do people know you're playing hockey?
Not really.
Really? Okay. I
Not
was just
really.
wondering.
Me, Gabe Roberto, and I usually before games just wear our jerseys around and tell people, but no publicity yet. So hopefully soon.
Well, hopefully this helps out.
Yeah.
Well, spread this around school.
There you go.
We usually do.
Yeah, everyone needs the publicity. But no, that's actually good. You wear the jersey around school,
Yeah.
everybody. I hope Matt Blanchard's listening in on this. He's got his own walking advertisement around
There you
campus.
go.
I appreciate that. So as far as your guys' offense is concerned, looking at the numbers over the first few games, of course, with the 5 goals, 7 assists, do you feel a personal need to kind of take charge of that offense and kind of show everybody what needs to be done as the season begins?
I think so. Kind of leadership up there as well. Kind of tell the new players where to go, how to position themselves. I learned from Perkins a few practices, like where to position
Absolutely.
themselves. So.
That's what we needed, an ego
Yeah.
boost for him
Yeah.
today. That's-
Let us scoot over. My goodness.
Well, listen, Corey, first of all, congratulations on the Player of the
Thank you.
Month. You're a heck of a hockey player. You're an opportunistic player, and the times I've spent on the ice with you is very enjoyable. You work hard. You're a dedicated player. So it doesn't surprise me that you're receiving this award here and getting this chance to be here today. But again, just your opportunistic style of hockey for me is really kind of your bread and butter. He knows how to get in behind defensemen. He's good around the net, and he's got good hands, and he moves well, and he's just a very intelligent hockey player. So, well-deserved award.
Thanks, Coach.
What's the dynamic like between you and Angel Puentes? You guys have been leading the way. Nobody on the team has more than 4 points on the year, other than you two. You guys both have 13 and 12 respectively. Well, what's it like between you two out there leading the way?
I've known Angel since freshman year. Well, sophomore year pretty much, because he went to Villa Park again. I didn't really play with him a lot, but when I did, I guess we had a connection. So just always playing with each other, always giving goes, and how quick we are together, I think that's helping us score goals.
What's it been like for you guys moving from Division II now to Division III? So many more teams, so many other things to look out for. What's it been like making that transition this season?
I didn't really play D2 last year, so never really had this competition for it. It's great just being with him, being with the new team, playing against Villa Park soon. That's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a fun game. Hopefully Don doesn't get mad if I score. So
I'm going to be there for that one. I want to watch that one.
I think we might have to cover that one.
Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be
if
fun.
Andy
Yeah.
Dickerson's
I think
watching.
it's here.
Matt,
we'll put that one on
put
the
that
schedule.
on the.
Yeah, he goes with a thumbs up. Well, then, what was the transition like coming up then from the JV ranks as well? Now that your career is moving on.
it's fun. Still playing hockey. That's all that matters. Playing with Nathan Hill, Gabe Roberto again. Who else? Keith Lystad is also up there. Just playing with players who I've played with a few years ago.
Right.
Just really helps a lot.
What are a couple of things you think your team does exceptionally well, and maybe what are some of the few things you think you guys can improve on as the season progresses?
Sorry. We really haven't been together a lot. We need to get progressive, pretty much. What's his face? Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
We just need to improve, I think, a lot on helping each other out, pretty much, because some players are getting mad at other players because we're not used to each other. Like at Villa Park, we were just always going, and then a new team comes in, and then players move around. And
Well, I think this is great for you to be a part of this, Corey. I think you can be a big help to some of that building between teammates and line mates and all those types of things. So I think your team has a bright future because you're a part of it. So keep doing what you're doing.
thanks, Coach.
Well, thanks so much
I
for
have a
joining
question.
us.
Miss
here.
Semigren
Chuck's
still
got
there?
a question.
She's still teaching drama? Miss Semigren, she teaching drama still at Esperanza? No?
I have no idea.
Kirsten? No, he's still
I
volleyball
have no
coach? I'm
idea.
trying to think I'd throw out some other teachers.
Levin's the volleyball
Oh,
coach.
okay. So they're probably Clancy's baseball though. He took over for Curran though, right?
I think Wolstaff.
Oh, really?
I,
Wow,
I
they fired
think
Clancy
Chuck,
already.
your
Look at
time.
that.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
Chuck,
there you
your
go.
time was quite a few
I
years
know,
ago.
I don't know, but I saw a couple teachers, so I was wondering. It's kind of interesting.
Well,
I wanted to throw it in.
Let's set up a lunch between
Exactly,
you two so
there
you
you
can
go.
catch up and figure out what's going on campus and what's going on with the Aztecs.
You can teach Corey that school song too.
Yeah, there you go. That's true.
Well, Corey, thanks so much for joining us.
guys.
Congratulations again on winning League Player of the Month for September. We look forward to watching you get back out on the ice in league play.
Thanks,
Congrats,
guys.
Corey.
So that's Corey Mader from Placentia Yorba Linda, our Player of the Month here in September in the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League. And with that, we move on to our Division III recap here on the report card. Let's stick to Placentia Yorba Linda's conference in D3. They're in the Crescent Conference, and so far out of the gate, it's been Bishop Amat 5-0. We saw what they did to Placentia Yorba Linda last week. Of course, the Panthers were a little bit shorthanded
Yeah, exactly.
in that game, but still, it was a 12-0 win for Amat, and they just looked outstanding.
Well, you know what, and they bring a lot of senior leadership coming in
Yep.
right now as well as outstanding goaltending as well. Remember, they used to pretty much be all goaltending and defense. However, you would have thought last year with Black Dog's own Wyatt Egger moving on, as he's up at Boise State right now. However, they have, basically they picked up the slack from them, or picked up his slack right now, and they have turned themselves into an offensive juggernaut.
Second on the list, Corona Norco. How about my Stingrays? They were my guys last year. It didn't work out. Didn't work out too well, and now this year they're 5-1. A couple of overtime wins, an overtime loss since our last show. So they're picking points up in the standings.
Well, they're one of the longest standing district-style teams that we have in our league. So it's just a matter of time, and they have their ebbs and flows, and right now they're flowing. They got a nice group, and I'm excited to see where they land come January and February. I know I talk about January and February a lot, but that's what this is all about. And I think the initial stages for a Corona Norco or any other team for that matter, you're building to get to that point, and Corona Norco has done a very good job over the years, and they've had some very good players and good teams.
Next on the list, Villa Park, Corey Mader's old stomping grounds. They're 4-1 so far this season, 1-1 since our last show. Had that overtime win last week, Chuck, that we got to see. And the Spartans off to a good start this season.
Yeah, Coach Don Johnson has his team almost firing on all cylinders as well. They're a little bit more defensive style oriented. I don't think they have the firepower that they used to have with Corey. You lose a specimen. Is it a specimen, or you lose a player with the likes of Corey Mader and also Angel Puentes. He goes back to a little bit more of a defensive style. And you know what? They're riding their goaltender as well. They're doing a good job right now defensively, and they're going to be a strong team come tournament time.
Placentia, Yorba Linda, and Upland Christian Academy round out the Crescent Conference down at the bottom. There was one change to this division. We see it happen all the time in the league. The teams are allowed at the start of the year to announce what division they would like to be in and see where they can play, and maybe after the first few games doesn't work out quite the way they thought it would, and you have to make an adjustment, such as the case with Carnegie Schools of Riverside. They have dropped down to JV, so they're no longer in the Crescent Conference, and they'll be competing down there at the junior varsity level. So we move on to the Coastview Conference now. Beckman 3-0 out of the gate. Last game was a couple of weeks ago. They beat Santa Margarita 7-2. The Patriots off to a nice start here early on.
Yeah, they have a nice group over there with some very good hockey players. But they've been building their program for a few years now. Tony Altman, who oversees the program there, now Zealand Kronk, who's the head coach. They got a good thing going with some very good players, and of course, as I'd mentioned maybe a couple weeks ago, they have a nice situation with the Rinks Irvine just adjacent to their school there, where their players are transitioning from roller to ice, and that's really how the Ducks have envisioned some of the grassroots programming that goes on here in Southern California, is that transition from roller to ice, and Beckman is capitalizing on that.
I know they've caught the eye of Commissioner Matt Blanchard. You always see him at the Beckman games as well.
Los Alamitos in second place in the Coastview Conference. They're 3-1. Last couple of games, they've scored 7 goals in each of their last 2 wins over Mater Dei last week. We talked about that game a little bit earlier, 3 weeks ago over Woodbridge. But the Griffins do have a really tough schedule coming up here. They've got Beckman tonight. They've got Bishop Amat next week.
I know exactly. But you know what, though? The Griffin team, though, I swear those kids have been playing for 6 or 7 years. Some of the kids you see, you would think they're like juniors in college by now, but they bring a lot of experience. They're always tough on the forecheck, always offensive oriented, and this year they have a little bit of goaltending as well, and some senior defensive leadership as well. So it's going to be their skies are looking pretty bright right now for Los Al, and it's tough for me to say as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
yes,
right.
Yes,
the
yes.
Esperanza alum over here. We got Servite and Mater Dei, kind of in the muddled middle there. The Friars and Monarchs, of course, the Trinity League connection. Mater Dei back in the league this season, hanging out right there in the middle of the pack, right behind the Patriots and Griffins. Then Woodbridge, Santa Margarita, Huntington Beach, down near the bottom of the conference, but a long way to go here, as we are still very, very early on in the season. So that's the recap for all 3 divisions and how the teams are doing. You can always jump on to ADHSHL.com to check the progress of your favorite team or your favorite player. Everything is listed on that website, and also you can go to BDEHockey.com to catch the live coverage of the games every weekend here from the rinks at Anaheim Ice. Well, gentlemen, we're not done yet. We still got a few things that we have left to talk about, specifically in a month or so.
I can't wait.
We are headed out to the desert, and as we got to the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League
Viva
Showcase.
We're going to Vegas.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Las
We're going to be at
Vegas.
City National Arena in Summerlin, Nevada. It's the practice facility of the Vegas Golden Knights. and we're going to be out there December 8th through the 10th. We're going to have 10 games on Black Dog Hockey. We'll have 4 on Friday. We'll do 5 on Saturday. We'll have 1 on Sunday. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, very, very exciting. I think over the course of the whole weekend, there's going to be about 20 games with all teams from the
21.
area here, except for Vegas will be the lone out-of-state team, kind of semi-hosting.
I was going to say, yeah, they're pretty much the home team. In that.
They're the home team, semi-hosting, and I'm not sure if that's where they practice out of, but a brand new facility, a brand new
Gorgeous facility.
You know, with the Vegas Golden Knights coming in there and really putting a shot in the arm to the hockey culture in Las Vegas. It'll be a very exciting time for us, and maybe we'll get to have a little bit of fun too. You guys gamble?
I'm going to not comment on that situation.
Let's just say the blackjack dealers are rubbing their hands right now, waiting
waiting for the laser to come to town. We know about that. There are going to be league games out there too, so we're not just going out there to cover the showcase. There's going to actually be in-league games that will be played for the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League.
And I think one of those Division I league games will be 2 teams that are playing here this afternoon. I think Jay Sarah plays Edison in a league game out there, so a big clash and a big tilt. And I got to believe after today's game, that's going to be a very important game coming down the pipe.
Also, something that has been recently announced and put in stone: the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League All-Star Game is coming to Honda Center on February the 7th. We'll do the 3 games like we have in the past. We'll do the JV game, the varsity game, and the senior game at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. We'll have coverage for you on bdehockey.com. I don't know when we're going to know who the players are going to be, but stay tuned for that. We'll have the selection process probably around the holiday, around the Christmas time, so stay tuned for that. But that'll be our lone trip to Honda Center, but the All-Star Game is always the event we look forward to.
Exactly, and especially I like looking forward to the JV because we don't get to too often to do JV games, so it's actually an opportunity for us to get to learn the JV players, and it's kind of like a preemptive strike for
it'll be a
next season.
preview for next year, and
exactly.
obviously kids that are hoping to move from JV into the varsity level, and most of those kids certainly will be in the conversations in their respective teams about making that jump. So always a good opportunity to check out the JV talent, and it should be a lot of fun.
Jumping back to Chuck's comment just a second ago, you say it's a chance for us to get to watch those kids play because we don't see them very much. That speaks to the growth of the league.
Yes, exactly.
We don't have enough people around here to cover the JV games, so we just stick to varsity now, and we can't even cover that entire division. So, so that speaks to the growth of the league now, of course. So February 7th at Honda Center, the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League. You can catch it live on bdehockey.com. For those of you who are joining us a little bit late here, A, where have you been? Yeah. And B, we're here on the report card on the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League Facebook live page. I'm Erik Pessolano, you know Chuck Lejsek, and the coach Mike Perkins. And the next part here is more for Coach Perkins because coming up in January, in the end of January, you guys are going to have tryouts for Team California again. The America Showcase is going to be held once more, moving to St. Louis this time around. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and what it's going to be like coming up this year?
I think everybody's excited. Coaches Dan Adams and Jeff Noviello are busy planning, along with Mr. Blanchard, the tryouts for the team, which is going to be probably the final weekend of January, and they'll be looking to go mid-April or beginning of April out to St. Louis to represent California with Team California at the America Showcase, which is moving from Pittsburgh to St. Louis, like you've mentioned. Exciting to see that move, and who knows, maybe I'll get to tag along on the trip if Mr. Blanchard allows that, and I'll get to be able to report on that. Huh? Maybe that's a good way to get in.
Huh? There you go. In the South. And maybe while you're out there, you can convince them to move the tournament out here.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be awesome.
Well, there has been talk.
Interesting. And then that was it. I can't get anything else out of it.
I can't elaborate any further than that.
A reporter in every sense of the word.
I think St. Louis is a prime spot. It's in the middle of the country. It's easily accessible for lots of different states and areas to be able to get to. So I completely understand why St. Louis, and they have a great facility there where it's going to be hosted at, and it should be just as other years, very well done. All the players stay at the same hotel. They travel with their teams. They spend all their time with their teams and coaches. And the great news is that there's lots of scouts and representative from from junior teams and college teams at the ACHA level, at the NCAA level, where these kids are going to get opportunities to play and move on beyond high school hockey.
So there you go, America Showcase coming up. Tryouts, like you mentioned, probably going to be at the last weekend of January. Juniors and seniors only, correct?
Juniors and seniors only, correct.
No. All right, so coming up today later on, go ahead and switch on over to bdehockey.com as we're going to have a triple header of coverage for you today on the network. Jay, Sarah, and Edison at Division I kick things off at noon, and then at 2 p.m. we're going to have Corona Norco and Upland Christian Academy.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, and then we're going to wrap up the night with an exhibition game. Cherry Creek from Colorado is in town. They're going to be taking on Damien. They're actually playing right now. Yeah, I think they're taking on Santa Margarita.
That's going to be. Yeah, Bellarmine and Tahoe will also be on at 3, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We do. Yeah, we have Bellarmine and Tahoe from up north in San Jose.
From San Jose.
That game ended up. They played last night as well. Bellarmine beat Tahoe 4-3. And then it was 4-3.
Oh,
I got.
4-3.
We got the corrected update. We got the update.
Okay.
And then I think did we say Bellarmine won this morning, or they won 5-0 this morning too?
Wow.
Christian Ilten, our cameraman, letting us know about that one. Yeah. So
Thank you,
good.
Christian.
How about that start for Bellarmine?
Yeah.
So far
Thank
this
you,
year,
Andy.
and thank you to Andy Dickerson, of course, as well. Well, that's going to do it for episode number 2 here of the report card from out front here, the Rinks, Anaheim Ice. I think we should say thanks, of course, to everybody from Edison, Coach David Walker, Sephten, Clevenger, and James
What a
McGuire
great
for
group of
stopping
guys.
by.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was-
absolutely. That was a
really
lot of fun.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it's good insight into their program.
Well, they
and
weren't
how it's
shy
going.
either, were they? They could
Oh.
talk. Yeah, that perfect. You know, broadcaster's dream.
represented
You
their-
ask a question, they rattle on for 15 minutes. It was perfect.
Yep, represented their team and their school and their
Very
families
well.
very well.
As did Corey Mader from Placentia Yorba Linda, who stopped by our Division III Player of the Month. So we
Always
wanna,
good to have Corey around.
Yeah,
Great kid.
Absolutely. Thanks to him for stopping by and chatting for a little bit. Our next show going to come up probably early December, it looks like. Team to
December
be
2nd.
determined, December 2nd. Yeah.
TBD?
Yeah.
No?
Saying pretty
No?
much December 2nd.
Yeah.
Santa
Oh,
Margarita,
okay.
Santa
I
Margarita,
didn't know
December
if we
2nd.
wanted to mention it yet
Yeah.
to log it down, but Matt says it's okay. So we're going to feature the Santa Margarita Eagles on December 2nd. So that'll be episode number 3. Stick around for that.
The
You can
boys
catch
in
it.
blue.
That's right. You can catch it right here on the Anaheim Ducks High School Hockey League Facebook Live page. Special thanks all around, of course, to Andy Dickerson from Black Dog Enterprises, to Christian Ilten, our cameraman and technical director here today, to Matt Blanchard, our executive producer, as always, and of course, to my partners, Chuck Lejsek, Mike Perkins. It's been fun. Thanks for coming by again,
Great.
guys. Yeah,
Another
Good
good
time.
show.
yeah, we have another job to do, so we
Yeah.
got to go inside. We got to get ready. Jay, Sarah, and Edison coming up at noon on Black Dog Hockey. So, with that being said, thanks for tuning in here on Facebook Live. I'm Erik Pessolano saying so long from in front of the Rinks at Anaheim Ice for this edition of The Report Card. We'll see you next time, everybody. So long.